Hatchet.
Yes, that's correct. While I was working on Star 69, kind of putting that aside and waiting for finishing funds and all that kind of stuff, one of the guys I was telling you about that was an assistant on my film. He approached me and asked me if I wanted to work on this film with him as a producer and if I would write it. So I said, yeah, of course, I'm always up for that. And so, he hired me to produce and to write Blood Night.
Who's Mary Hatchet? Was that just a fictional legend?
Yeah, I mean, Frank had this idea that he had about it, and it was his brainchild. And he wanted to, at first I think he wanted to make a short, if I'm not mistaken, based on it. And then when he got the opportunity, his ex-girlfriend had put him in touch with these two executive producers who were looking to invest in horror movie. So, her boyfriend was, trying to break into this. And so she introduced them. And, they were really, they brought him a script that they had in mind. And it was a script that kind of reminded me of like Kiss the Girls. I don't know if you ever remember that movie, if you remember that with Ashley Judd. Yeah, it was a really cool like thriller. And I said to Frank, I looked at the idea and I said, absolutely not. Now, at this point, I've gotten really good at figuring out how much, what budgeting is and line producing. I really learned that from working on Star 69. And I said, no way, this, we need at least $2 million to do a film like that, what they're suggesting, okay? Or 1.5 at least. And, that's not what they're willing to give, obviously. Mm-hmm. So we went back and forth with them, and they were asking us if we, could do it. And I said, well, a movie like this, if you want to get any distribution, you're gonna have to get some names in there, because it isn't like a horror movie. You're gonna need names if you're looking to sell overseas, especially, do foreign sales. And so they realized that it was just kind of like over, it was going to be out of their budget to do something like that. So Frank had been telling me this idea he had for this urban legend that he had in mind, Mary Hatchet. And I said, why don't you pitch that one? That's the movie that we could make for the money that they're willing to give. Pitch that movie. So that's what he did. And then they gave us the okay. And, Frank had asked me if I could show them some clips to Star 69 since he was, working on that with me. And I said, sure, let's go. Let's bring it to them and show them what we can do, what's done, like what I've done as a producer and a director and a writer and what you've done assisting me, And he says, all right. So we went there and they asked me how much the budget was for Star 69. I told them and they said, we'll give you double because they saw how good it looked and they wanted us to do even better with theirs. So we said, hell yeah, of course, let's do that. And then that's what we did. And that's how that started. And that's how Blood Night, the legend of Mary Hatchet, was born.
It's good. It keeps your creative juices flowing, a project like that, I'm sure, because you're still in the middle of the whole Star 69 process, but, you're having these incredible challenges financially. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is there ever a point? Do you say, I give up, I can't make this movie at all?
The thought crosses your mind, but then when you remember the people that trusted you enough to give you the money to complete it, that thought was out of my head in less than a second. So I knew I had a responsibility, and I'm the type of person, I can't leave things unfinished. I don't care if it takes me 14 years. I'll do other things in the meantime. I'm not going to just put all my eggs in one basket and wait on that. No, I'll do other things in the meantime, which I did. I wrote several other screenplays. I had a couple of things optioned from other producers. I started working on shorts again. But I always knew that I will not feel good unless I finish that film. Even if it goes nowhere, even if it just sees my shelf, I'm going to finish it because I have a responsibility to my investors to make sure that that film gets finished and that I will try to get it out there. And we all agreed, that it was time to go with, distribution, at any given point, when we came to that agreement, when it was the right time, we did that. And I got a foreign sales agent who I was not happy with at all. I think he was kind of pushing his own stuff. It was, conflict of interest. He had his own projects he was pushing. So obviously he wasn't really paying close enough attention to mine, in my opinion. And, I like to do these little surprise visits. I went to France, to Cannes, where I knew he was going to be. Wow. And I didn't tell him I was going. So I went there, and I went to visit him at the booth, and, he's not doing anything. So I fired him on the spot because I had to. And I took back my film, and I said, you know what? There's no way I want you repping this film. So that's what I did. And, I spoke to, my investors, and they said, we agree with your decision. And if somebody's not going to be as passionate about it as you are, then, and we're not going to make any money that way, then absolutely sit on it until you feel like it's a good enough time to find somebody who's going to give you a fair deal. So that was my responsibility. So no, quitting was not an option.
I just want to know now, did you shoot the movie within a certain time frame, or was that spread out over the years?
Oh, that was spread out over the years too. So
how on earth are you able to get that crew and cast back together all those years? And I'm sure, did they start looking differently as they got older? Or?
Well, what's funny is most of the film was shot within the first couple of years. Okay, most of the film. However, there were a couple of scenes that I wanted to redo. So, for instance, my actress Christine Kolinick, love her. She is awesome. We had her run into the closet in this one scene, and the other side of the closet was shot like 10 years later because I didn't like the way the scene was originally shot. So I kept the scene when she was running into the closet, and then 10 years later I decided that I was going to change that up. And I asked her, hey, by any chance, was it 10 years later? Yeah, it was about, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Maybe it wasn't 10 years. Maybe it was like 8 years. Okay, but close enough. Still. But I asked her, by any chance, do you happen to have that shirt, that outfit that you... And she says, of course not. And I said, oh, damn it. So I had to go find something as close to it as possible. And, you could see it's different when you look at the movie, but most people never even noticed. And she really didn't change that much because she hadn't cut her hair. Her hair was still long and blonde. And she looked pretty much the same, thank God, or else then I wouldn't have been able to do it, Mm-hmm. And then where the crew was concerned, I had different crew at that point. Paul Del Vecchio, my co-producer, is also a filmmaker. And, he's great. He's great behind camera. So he shot those scenes for me. He's a great DP. I work with him still on most of our shorts we work together on. And when I'm directing, he's DPing. When he's DPing and directing, I'm producing, on his stuff, or, we write together. So he was doing that stuff for me. He picked up. He was able
to match up with the other person shot too?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
That's really good.
And very well. Yeah, he did a really good job. So, yeah, the magic of film. You could fake a lot of things, piece them together 8 years later. It's insane. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how we were able to do it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty
and you said you shot at 22 locations? How do you plan for something like that?
By getting no sleep whatsoever. Yeah, 22 locations. I didn't realize it was that much until one day I sat down and counted, and I said, holy crap, 22 locations. No wonder why this thing cost so much money. Yeah.
Was it all in New York?
Yes. It was, no, I'm sorry. Most of it, I would say 90% of the film was in New York, and then we also did Connecticut. We did this train scene, and that was at the Connecticut. In Connecticut, it was at the museum, some train museum. It was awesome. We shot that there. And then, but most of it was, and Pennsylvania. We did Pennsylvania as well for all our cabin scenes. And then the rest of the film was shot on Long Island mostly. Yeah, mostly on Long Island, in like really cool towns that really could be anywhere, because we needed some mystical towns. And we shot in Seacliff, and that was just awesome because it was very mysterious looking. It's a very mystical town. It's cool. So that's why I shot there.
Did you have some kind of location scout for you, or was that one of your many duties also?
Well, I did that, but with the help of Debbie Markowitz, our wonderful film commissioner and also wonderful director, she helped me tremendously. She put me in touch with people, when I needed to scout locations for homes. She helped me out with that through the commission, and then I would go and scout them. I would go and take pictures and scout them and negotiate fees, and so I did that too. Yeah, but you know what? I actually enjoy doing that. I actually enjoy scouting locations because it helps me with my creative process.
Oh, yeah.
When I see the location. So I really like being there from the beginning, So, yeah.
Obviously, we know Laurie Davis. What character did she play in the movie?
She played Mrs. Coleman. She was the mother of the little girl who was very sick and holding the key to pretty much the entire film's plot. So she was excellent. And, she also helped me cast all the children in the film because I needed a lot of kids. And I didn't have access to that, So let me tell you something about Laurie. This is what's so cool about Laurie. She is not only an acting coach, but she was like an agent because she gets these kids work. I've never met an acting coach that actually finds her students work like that. I thought that was true, amazing. Because I studied acting too. I studied acting just so I could be a better director because I want to always be able to understand the process an actor has to go through to get to where he needs to be or she needs to be. And so I was like, how could I do that if I don't learn acting? So I've even more respect for actors because of that, because acting looks so easy because when it's done well, it looks easy, but it is so difficult to act that natural. And so I'm glad I did. So, I knew about acting because of that. And when I saw how Laurie was getting her students all these parts and stuff like that, I said to her, wow, they're an agent. They're so lucky to have you, because these kids are in class for maybe a month and they're already on my film. You know what I mean? So it's a tremendous opportunity for them. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that she was able to give me her students to be in the film. So it was good. Some of them are married now. It's incredible.
Wow.
Because that's how long it took. That's how long it took to complete the damn thing.
Wow. So how do you feel about the finished film?
I really like it. I'm very happy with it. Of course, there's always, I've grown as a director and writer. So there are things I look at now where I may cringe a little bit and say, oh God, if I had a better budget, or not a better budget all around, but a better budget at the time that I was shooting that particular scene, I would have done it better. I would have thought about the special effects a little bit more. Not that I used that heavily in the film, I didn't, but in scene where I did have to use it, I would have taken more time. I would have, now knowing what I know now, I wish I could do those scenes differently. So, but again, I learned from it. So I can't say I regret that. I think it could have been a little bit better here and there. But I'm proud of it. I am proud of it because I really like the story. And I think that for me, the story maybe wasn't as important as putting, the core for, some people who are diehard horror fans. But that's why I would say the film is more a supernatural thriller with horrific elements. Right. It's not a straight up horror movie. The Blood Night was a horror movie that had TNA and gore and all that kind of stuff. And that was fun to write. I really enjoyed writing that, because I remember when they came to me and asked me, because I'm a female, obviously. So unfortunately, people think that when you're a female, right, you're not going to be able to write like 30 scenes and, like scenes with, stuff like that with crazy amount of gore. And I said, I'm a freaking writer at the end of the day, what I am doesn't make any difference. I'm a writer first and foremost. Yeah. My gender means nothing. So can I write is what you should be asking me. Yes. So when I asked them, what do you want? They said, I want an 80s style horror film. And I said, okay. And let's put it to you this way. When I wrote the script and I gave it to Frank to, we would have like meetings, here and there, just so he could tell me if I was on the right path, if I was writing it the way he wanted it, because like I said, it was his story, it was his idea. So, to fill in those 90 pages, that's a lot of work. So we would have these meetings and I would tell him what my vision was and for the script and everything. And I would give him all the pages I would write. And I remember him saying to me, I don't know if I could direct this comfortably. And it was a scene, a rape scene. And it, that's how I write. I don't put filters on. If you ask me to write something that's disturbing or horrific, I'm going there because